Hello, elevator community. Welcome to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. My mission is to empower my fellow elevator entrepreneurs in creating your growth plan, which is going to free your time, allowing you to rest easy. I'm your host, Sean Madden. I've had an amazing 35 years in the elevator industry, starting out in the field, managed several elevator companies, started, built, and sold Madden Elevator Company for well over market value, and serving as your NAEC president. I've done a lot in the industry, and now I'm ready to pay my knowledge forward. Let's dive right in. Welcome to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm here with James Fitzgerald of Advantage Elevator System. Welcome aboard. This is going to be exciting. James and I has worked together now for a little bit over a year, but really glad to have you on here. I want to start off like we normally do. Tell us a little bit about your story, how you got in the elevator industry, and what your journey was.
So I'd say my journey is a little unconventional just from the people that I've come in contact with in the industry. Most of the people that are owning their own businesses at this point are people that were taxed or involved in some other way. I had no elevator industry experience prior to coming into it. I purchased this business from a gentleman who was retiring. He'd been in the construction industry for 46 years and had an Advantage elevator for the last 10. I had construction background, decided that I could figure it out. Financials looked good and healthy. And so I jumped and decided to build the parachute on the way down.
That sounds like an interesting tactic. I think maybe we met in a spring conference once. Tell a little bit about that one story you were telling me a long time ago about you went to the NAEC spring conference and you really didn't know what you're getting into, and you ran across a ton of people that helped you. Just tell a little bit about that story.
I could definitely be a big advocate for sticking your neck out there and trying to get involved in the industry. NAEC was in Reno last year, decided that I thought if I was going to make a go at this, I needed to know some people that knew way more than me. So went to the elevator conference in Reno and met people in every facet of the industry. I'm in residential elevators. We're not as large as the commercial industry, but I made some key contacts, and that ended up propelling my momentum in the right direction and seeing who and where and how I should focus my time with. So it's been a huge help. And even someone that lives on the other side of town, met them in Reno.
Nice. It's so weird that our industry is so large, but sometimes it's not as big as you really realize when you start networking and talking to people and like, oh yeah, I know Jack right down the road. It's like, what? That's so crazy.
All business owners, and this isn't just exclusive to elevator, but we tend to silo ourselves out because it's competition. I think if you reach out to other business owners, there's plenty of pieces of the pie for everyone. You're not keeping secrets that haven't been done before. Let's collaborate. Let's help each other. And honestly, the more business owners I've met in this industry, the more contacts I've made, it opens up way more opportunities. So it's actually done the opposite. You think you stay in your box and keep everything secret. You get to do it all. But no, you got to get out there and network and talk to people. And that's where opportunity goes for all.
Yeah, thanks for that. The first podcast I did with Don Gelstino, Champion Elevator, that was his golden nugget. Get out and meet your competition. Healthy competition's needed. He had some acronym where it's like, how fun would it be if New York didn't play the Mets? It's a really good analogy because you think about it, like, you worry about competition, but then it's like, well, there's plenty of work out there. And if you can help and support each other, that's what we're in this to do, is take care of the riding public. And that's always been my focus. I've had some companies I worked for before that called me up and said, hey, I need to borrow your test weights to do an elevator test. We don't have enough. Sure, go use them. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to charge me? I'm not going to charge you. Like, I might need something from you one day. So,
Yeah.
It's all about that. It's all about helping and supporting each other. So I had loved that story you talked about when you first showed up at the elevator conference and got so much positive feedback and connection.
Same with year two, coming back this year and just coming away with a pocket full of people that I got to get on the phone with and collaborate with and talk to.
That's great. So in your journey, as you've taken over this company and organized it and working through structuring it for growth, I'm sure that you've had a variety of challenges, a variety of opportunities that hit you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about One of the opportunities or one of the challenges I like to call challenges opportunities because technically every challenge is an opportunity to learn. But what's a challenge that you had in your business? Let's talk through a little bit about what you did to solve it.
First one, my goal was to take a business and instead of it being a job with 4 guys or how many behind you, just supporting you to be able to do more things, is turn the business into its own entity, its own asset. And this isn't with intentions to sell it or anything, is to actually be able to take my life and make sure that I have the time that I want. So the challenge is, how do I take myself and make sure that I'm not bottlenecking the growth? And we've talked about this, and it was a unique thing, but I had back surgery and took me out of being in my business all the time. I actually eventually got to put some goals out there that I wanted to go on a golf trip. What it ended up doing for me was pulling myself out of it and allowing the people that I have put in place to grow and challenge them. And what they've done is nothing but flourished. So through that process, we're taking this business and making its own living, breathing thing that doesn't require James. If James falls off the planet, we're going to have some bumps, definitely. But my goal is to make it so that it's not James's company with 5 guys behind it. It's Advantage Elevator System and the family that surrounds that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm sure a lot of people would have questions like, how did you get there? Because oftentimes people start businesses and grow them, or they just love being in the business and solving all the problems, which quite frankly, I did myself when I first started. I thought I needed to be involved with everything. I thought I had to be the answer to everything. And I guess you coming in not from the industry actually helped because you have to rely on other people where a lot of elevator entrepreneurs that start came either from the field like I did or from sales or management, and they feel like they have the answers. So as the entrepreneur, you have to learn to guide and support, but back away and give the freedom of your team to learn and flourish and grow. So how did you go about building that plan? Because that's something that I know a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah. Through help and stuff, I was involved in the Elevator Strategic Hub, and that helped me put that plan together.
I wasn't really looking for a plug.
I know, but you're going to get one. But I read a lot, and some of the biggest, greatest leaders in companies are out of the way. And your role as the leader of a company isn't to be the guy that knows the most about the thing that you do. Your role in the company is to create opportunities, the people that you put in those seats. Get the right people on the right seats on the bus, and that's what keeps the bus moving, right? So that's your job as a leader of a company. And when I make decisions, I try and ask myself those questions. And that doesn't matter if your company's huge or you and a couple guys, but your job as a leader of a company is to facilitate growth for your employees and make sure that they're growing. They'll stick with you if you do it that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really good point of the employees because oftentimes I think businesses get busy and you're running and growing and you're trying to solve all the problems, but your biggest asset is your employees. If you spend time with them, understand their needs and wants and desires and how to train them to give them the tools they need to grow as people and as workers in your business, they're going to stick with you because they know you care and they know that you're trying to help them get to the next level. I think we had another podcast, we were talking about that. That's one of the most important retention pieces that often gets overlooked.
Yeah, you can't have an ego and do it. It's easier for me to sit here and say that because I didn't know a lot about elevators at all. It's much easier, but I rely on a lot of good people and I'm still relying on them to help us go forward. Just lucky that I have the team I have. And I think we'll do great things with the opportunities that are out there because the opportunity in this industry is amazing.
Yeah, you mentioned something that kind of resonated with me back when I started my elevator company and felt like I had to have all the answers. And I think maybe it's not always that. Sometimes it's time. So it's quicker and easier for me to just tell you the answer and let you go do it. But the challenge with that becomes you now become the person that everybody comes to for all the answers without them thinking for themselves. I created some of my own challenges. And there's a saying they say where don't let somebody come in and talk to you and put the monkey on your desk and leave. They got to leave with the monkey. I learned over time, instead of just giving answers, to ask clarifying questions and to continually try to drive them in the right direction to find the answer themselves until they felt, okay, now I feel comfortable that I was on the right track and I just need some guidance and maybe some support. They eventually will get to a point where they're making those decisions without you and they're making them in the same light that you would make them in. And it's a process, it takes time, but I learned that the hard way myself, coming from the field and then supervision management. Even when I was in leadership in some companies, I didn't realize how important that was. And I think when you're younger, sometimes you don't realize it either. You want to be the guy that knows all the answers. As you learn and grow emotionally and get better as a person, there's a lot of opportunity to learn to lead your people instead of just managing and giving them all the answers and telling them, go do this. There's a big
And it's
difference.
hard. It's hard to not just do it yourself. I mean, you have to be so conscious of it all the time and more in reflection. You look back on your day when you sit down and you go, that was an opportunity for me to say, what would you do in this situation, as opposed to giving my invite.
Right, exactly. And ask, what would you do in this situation and get their input. And then if they're reluctant, say, listen, I'll tell you my ideas, but I want to hear yours first. That's a way that I crafted it where they're not just coming to me and they know I'm going to give them some advice and ideas to consider, but they're going to give their ideas. And then I would say, what did you think about this? And maybe you could tweak it this way. I think it takes longer. It takes discipline. It's definitely a longer process, but you build that relationship too. You build the relationship of supporting them and helping them think outside the box and helping them think and grow. That's what retains people too. It's great insight. I really appreciate that.
This is an opinion I've formed after being in the industry for a little bit. It's all non-proprietary. And as we all know in residential and in commercial, there's a lot of dealers, larger companies that are out there. I want to be able to service the customer. I want to solve problems. One of the biggest hindrances that I've encountered is I get parts from places that are proprietary or have a dealer network that protects a certain region. That's just hard. I hate when a customer calls me and I can try. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste their money, but how do I solve that? Not being able to get parts, and so the customer's not serviced. How do we say an industry that this is, we're in it for the actual customer and we want to make sure that they're taken care of. So that's it.
I feel like there's been a shift, obviously a little bit because of roll up. The roll ups reduce the resources, and sometimes the roll ups remove the people that actually had a lot of ideas of what's going on inside the business. So now the businesses are running the way they're running. They may not necessarily know where to get parts or get old parts or find those solutions. So I think that's part of it, but it seems to be a shift of just, no, you're not a dealer, can't help you. And I don't know what the shift is. I dealt with that a little bit back at Madden Elevator. We did a lot of residentials. I helped take over a bunch of residentials from another company and really probably should have just had a separate business because we had over 300 of them. But parts was always a challenge. And it seems like it's harder even on the residential side because people are going to reverse engineer stuff because they're not going to get enough revenue to be able to afford to reverse engineer it. And then when you get down into the quote unquote, what the code reads, you're technically supposed to buy it from the OEM. But if the OEM won't sell it to you, what do you do to solve the problem for the customer? So for anyone that's listening out there, I think this is a huge opportunity. I think there would be a huge opportunity for somebody to start a parts company that just, you call me, tell me what it is, and I'll find it for you and I'll get it for you. Because ultimately, it's not really the cost because you're passing that on to the customer. It is more the time and effort and energy and frustration that you go through trying to find that part. There used to be some other companies. There was a company years and years ago in New York called Certified Elevator. Some of the old elevator peoples out there might know this, but Certified Elevator was that company. When you couldn't find a part, you called them and they would find it. I don't know how they got it. I don't want to know how they got it, but they'd find it. Say, here, we got your part, and send it to you. Like, oh, cool. That's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity there, but it is a big challenge, and it seems to be more of a challenge on the residential side. And you're just trying to take care of your client. I totally get it. 110%.
In a commercial setting, it's a lot easier to throw the sign up and say closed for service than on the residential side in some instances. What if it's a disabled person that needs to just access the rest of their house?
If the company is still in business, the owner owns the elevator. Technically and legally, the owner has the right to call the company and tell them they need the part and they got to sell it to them. Now, obviously, that could be extremely expensive and challenging to jump through all the hoops. The bigger challenge I find often is even if the company is still in business, is that's obsolete. We don't have that anymore. You need to upgrade your entire elevator. And then that's when it becomes, oh man, this is a big deal. So I think the residential world has a lot of opportunity there to improve. I did hear and see that there's some new up and coming companies that's going to, I think, help in those areas. So
Good.
we'll see where it goes, but good point, good challenge that's not quite solved, but opportunity. So anyone that has any ideas for James, please comment on this podcast. He'd be glad to hear it.
Yeah, reach out, let me know. We're always looking to collaborate and have good ideas. So, yeah, that's a good one. I think as an industry in residential, it's going to force us, if that is changed, it forces us to be better customer service oriented service people.
Yeah. Well, I sure appreciate your time. What's one thing you would give fellow elevator entrepreneurs out there? What's something you would recommend to them as a golden nugget for them to consider?
I think we talked about a topic earlier about reaching out and networking, so that's a good one. But I think being protective of your time, and that means from yourself as well as others. Time is the most valuable resource we have as a business owner or a manager, and making sure we use it efficiently is paramount. So I would say be protective of your time. It is a currency. So make sure that you're using it appropriately and as a tool.
That's a great one. We were actually talking about that beforehand because I said I oftentimes found myself doing something that's not the most appropriate things I should be focused on and doesn't line up with my mission and vision of where I want to go. But you get drug into these situations. So what's more important is learning to say, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on what I had planned. So really good point. Appreciate that, James. And I sure appreciate you being here on this podcast. It's been fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. I truly hope this information helps my fellow elevator entrepreneurs to build your growth plan so you can free your time, allowing you to rest easy. If you need help getting your elevator business organized for growth, I've created tools and templates inside my favorite business operating system that you can access for free. Plus, you can have a 30-day free trial of the software. Just head over to elevatorstrategichub.com/ebos. That's /EBOS to get your free access, or you can click the link below. Thanks again. I'll be back next time with a brand new episode on the Elevator Entrepreneur. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I will continue to empower my fellow elevator entrepreneurs.